Clunes Booktown Festival is a celebration of the book, filled with bookstalls, author talks, workshops and thought-provoking conversations in the historic Victorian township of Clunes.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clunes Booktown. My name's Chris Gordon and I am fortunate enough to work at Readings. We are at the moment about to swap stories, swap experiences, talk about our passions, talk about our heritage, and that people have been doing that on this land for eons. We're meeting, of course, on the lands that are not ceded, on lands that are not ours. And I think we're all feeling pretty lucky that we get to continue something that the First Nations people gave us. Just sitting around, having a gas bag, trying to make sense of the world that we live in. And I think if we do that and we send out our respects to the First Nations people and we acknowledge the beautiful traditions that they've given us while we sit here and listen to these three extraordinary people that I have up here, I think we're going to just move into 2025 with a little bit more peace in our heart. Can we do that together? I'm up here and I'm lucky enough to be able to talk about cooking and talking about passion. My role at Readings is to look after events and, I know this is a dream job, to review cookbooks. I understand that most of you are feeling a little bit of jealousy right now, that my role is just about talking to people that create stories and reading cookbooks. I know. I think I'm the only person in Australia with this job. I'm not going anywhere. I apologise. It's not up for grabs. I'd like to introduce you to some people that really need no introduction. First of all, lovely Kon here at the end. We know how extraordinary he is. We know that he's the founder and the CEO of the Asylum Seekers Resource Centre. We know he's an OAM. We know that he's written a cookbook with his mum. Come on, with his mum. That deserves another round of applause. Next to him is wonderful Helly, and Helly runs this extraordinary restaurant called Enter Via the Laundry. It's based in Carlton. She's written a book about it. It's all about beautiful Indian food, but she's doing something, she's just twisting it around a little bit. She's going right back to the start, and then she's mixing it up with some Australian flavours, and then she's presenting it to us. She sort of became quite famous during the first sort of COVID lockdowns, and she's just gone on and become quite famous in the food industry. Let's make her very welcome. And next to Helly is Jess Ho, and if you have eaten in Australia or in Melbourne in particular, then you possibly have read some of Jess's work. She's a reviewer, she's a podcaster, she's written a book as well called Raised by Wolves. She is, if you like, a food critic and lifestyle. I think this is how I would describe her, but I'm also fortunate enough to describe her as a great friend of Readings and certainly of mine as well. Let's make her very welcome. At the moment, there's something kind of incredible happening in the book retail world. It makes no sense, but cookbooks are on the rise. More and more people are buying cookbooks than ever before. What's going on? We can get recipes wherever we like. We can get them on the internet. We can ring up our parents. We can ring up our siblings, but yet we keep buying cookbooks. What's going on? Let's ask Kon why he would write a cookbook with his mum and what sort of made his cookbook the number one cookbook at the moment in Australia.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. I think for me, I lost my father when I was 27 and I had such a grief of thinking I'd have time. And when my father passed, I lost so many journeys and so many stories and a part of my culture and a part of me. And I didn't want to have that regret with my mum, who I'm deeply close to. We've bonded over two things: her love of violent action films, I kid you not, and cooking. And at the heart of that, that's been our precious connection. And so when I created this cookbook, I wanted to do three things. One, I wanted to share something beautiful with my mum, cook the food in her kitchen, grow the food in her garden for the cookbook. 2, I wanted to capture our stories, our history, our culture. And 3, I wanted to write a cookbook that was about more than just recipes, which is what draws people to cookbooks. It was about community, compassion. At a time where we're being told to close our hearts and our minds and our curiosity and to be fearful of the other, I wanted to celebrate the other, that is where the magic and the joy is, in our diversity, in our culture. And that is the journey of the refugees I work with, that they flee with just the clothes on the back, but their stories and their recipes, and protecting that. And I wanted to do some good from that. And I think that's what draws people to cookbooks. We are desperate more than ever to feel like we're not alone and that we're part of our own community. And cooking, I've always said this, it's an old saying around, you can't be angry at a person that you're breaking bread with. And it's the one place we're all equal around a kitchen table. And I wish we had more of that gathering together where we could see we have so much more in common with each other than we have that separates us.
Helly, your book has just been out now for a month. It's doing very well on the Readings cookery table. What inspired you to write a cookbook right now? Is it jumping on, or was it a desire to share some of these stories from your home?
For me, I came to Australia in 2007, so this is a long time back. And when I came here, I was in a bit of a rush to become Australian. And every now and then, to fit in to the popular culture, I would miss a little bit of what Helly was back home in Gujarat, Ahmedabad. That could be food, that could be festivals, that could be just listening to certain sorts of music. But after a while, once I had my children, and then once I started running Enterwire Laundry, I realized how much I was missing home. And
was it parenthood that did that, or just?
I think so. I think parenthood and getting a little bit of free time to myself, or in my brain, I guess, or the postnatal, who knows, or maybe the defenses mechanism. But I felt like there was an urge for me to connect back to where I'm from, and preserve it and pass it on to my kids, because if I didn't do that, and if they were adapting what I adopted just recently, there's no depth in it, and there won't be any character. So then I went about on, of course, opening Enterwire Laundry and exploring and connecting back home, which involved a lot of research, not just for the food. My first test research were in West Bengal in a book market, picking books for medieval and ancient history of India. And believe it or not, every chapter had a section for food. There was economy, there was clothing, there was trade, there was people, religion, there was food. Because that's important. Everything else is important, but food is important. And how it evolved. So then I started documenting it for me to learn myself of who I am, where I'm from, and what my bases are. And that learning became what this book is now. Parts that inspired me the most are now in the book. And then emotionally, I love to connect with it and say, well, I am here. And the last chapter is about accepting where I am. So I'm here and on the traditional lands, and I'm using the ingredients that are seasonal here rather than flying in frozen in a shipment from back home, because that's what's more genuine. And so it's kind of, in a way, it's a bit of my journey from where I came from to where I'm now. But it is also very much a journey of India, how it rose from where it was and where it's now. It's food, that is, yeah.
Helly, tell me about your sort of your restaurant when you first started. One of the things that everyone talked about with Enterwire the Laundry was a little bit what Kon was talking about, was that communal table. How did you find that the people worked? When they would come in, they would enter through your laundry door, yeah. And then they would have to all sit, strangers, around a table.
Yeah, it was like a little social experiment, but everyone
social experiment.
Slightly. I was sort of an introvert person, so I was never there to facilitate their conversation. I was just cooking, and food was my kind of contribution to that table. It was great that everyone that got on that table had signed up mentally for that, to actually sit together with someone that they didn't know and share a story or two. And the friendships that they have made, the friendships that I have made since then, they're just priceless. I have at least 6 very close friends that I've met at Entawar Laundry Shed table.
That's fantastic. That's so nice, isn't it? It's exactly what you were saying, Kon, like in that sense that this is what community can be if we just sit down at the table together. Jess, in one of the roles that you talk about in your book, Raised by Wolves, you talk about being the person that actually greets people as they walk into a restaurant, which I don't know whether we can name or not, and seat people. And sometimes that would be at a communal table. How do you read people? How do you know if this social experiment is going to work?
Depends how hungry they are. It's like you're going to sit down with other people, you're not going to eat. And, I come from an Asian family. I'm not sure if you can tell. And, back in Hong Kong, at a lot of the traditional like tatantangs and even like dai pai dongs, basically if you're like 1 or 2 people and they're like, oh, we don't have any seats, they'll like flick out a seat and then you just join another family. And the attitude is very much, do you want to eat or not? Except, now it's packaged for a Western audience and with a bit of tongue in cheek and like someone young going, ha ha ha, on the other end.
But sort of understanding the people that were coming through the door of that very busy restaurant that you worked at, and understanding that some are going to be better suited in that corner and some are going to be better suited in the communal table. How do you do that? How do you read those sort of people to make that decision?
A lot of it is body language. A lot of it is how they're dressed, who they're with. Unfortunately, a lot of it is age as well. Like I wouldn't seat people who require like a quieter corner on a communal table because then there's a lot of shouting. You don't know if they're exactly on the corner or opposite each other. It could be this large expanse between them. So a lot of it is more like, do you look like you're up for it? And then, you give people the option. Well, I gave people the option as well. I'm like, I can either seat you on a communal table now or you're waiting for 3 hours. And I just leave it up to them. I let the hunger gods decide. May the gods be ever in your favor.
Just recently, Melbourne got voted the #1 foodie city in the world. We have over 100 different cuisines. I know, it's kind of extraordinary. Jess, you've spent so much of your working lives looking at the rise and the fall of restaurants, the rise and fall of cookbooks. Is there a magic ingredient? What is it?
Don't be crap.
Go.
Look, that
is the slogan. Let's do that.
That is like, the overarching theme. But I think at the end of the day, there is that sense of authenticity. And I don't mean authenticity in a way that a lot of food writing kind of promotes the white gaze on cuisines, but more are the people creating it authentic to themselves? Are they authentic to the concept? Have they fulfilled their own brief? And a lot of the time, a business might be like, we're going to do this and we're going to make this. And they don't connect with it properly. And I think the most successful venues are people who might have a crazy idea, but they throw themselves entirely into it. And I'll give you an example off the top of my head. There is this tiny little restaurant. It is, if you look at it, it makes no sense. It's uncomfortable. There is a communal table or you're like crammed in the corner somewhere. It is owned by a culture writer, a Mauritian chef, and an artist. And
so not professional chefs.
No, one professional chef.
Professional chef.
So it's Munze in North Melbourne. The food is phenomenal. Like they seat 35 maximum at any time, and you might be on the street getting wet from the rain, but people line up for it. They put themselves on waiting lists, and it's because they're authentic to themselves. They are very like, let's decolonize the way that we see food. Let us respect the food that we're cooking. Let's respect our staff and give them the time that they need and care for their mental health. And they've even said to me, at the end of the day, when we're all old, and if we sell the business, probably not, because there's no one who can take this space. We've made no money. We're cash neutral, but everyone gets paid. Their staff are paid properly. And I think that translates onto the floor and in the guest experience because everyone is just so happy to be there. I've taken teenagers there and they're super excited by it. I've taken people in their 60s who are like, oh, is the venue going to be a bit loud? I've got like a hearing aid, and they love it. Is it a place I'd take my parents to? Yeah. I would, but that would be painful for me.
Helly, is that something that you find too, that people when they come to your restaurant, when they've booked maybe, I think it's a waiting list of 3 months at the moment, do you think that they keep, the reason that your restaurant is so successful and your cookbook is following in that suit is because you've got something authentic, you're not pretending to be anything other than a cookbook that is celebrating and a restaurant that's celebrating Indian food?
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to make money, I would start selling butter chicken. I'd be a millionaire. But and
People ask for butter chicken.
No, they know. They're scared of me. As soon as they walk in, they know they cannot even say that they like butter chicken. So, but if you like it, it's okay. A lot of my friends sell very good butter chicken, and you should eat it. But I think authenticity is very important. But I find that the service is very important, and genuineness of service, of actually looking after your guest, of what they need. And is it one more glass of wine? Or perhaps if they're not drinking, do they want a little chat? And then you can see in their eyes what they really are feeling for. I think restaurant is a place where people, of course, come to eat, but they are also there to get that service and being hosted by a nice host. And for us, it's always been a homely atmosphere. It's a small place. We only host 18 people a night. Just last night, we had a gentleman from India, Gujarat, from my state, who was celebrating 75th birthday. And it does happen ever so often that they would invite me at the end of the meal and say, "Come home, Helly, we'll cook for you." And the same thing happened. And the gentleman put a hand on my head and saying, "Oh, you're doing well." And more than the critics giving me stars and hat, when I receive that, I'm very happy. And I love everything else as well, because you need it. But when it only happens when you are actually authentic to yourself, as you said, and you are genuinely happy to serve the guests and give the best dish ever and not taking anything off or more for profits. Like, best of the restaurants never make money. It's the fact. And if you're in for just money, butter chicken.
It's a little bit like book selling, to be honest.
Would you care to elaborate?
Yeah, we're certainly not in it for the money. We're in it for the love. Kon, when you talk about the importance of people coming together and being at a shared table, and you produce a cookbook like this with your mum, what was one of the perhaps most gorgeous responses that you received from people that enjoyed your book?
I think one of the things that surprised me was a lot of people, in a loving way, writing to me, sharing their grief. And I read your cookbook and the stories and the recipes, and it felt like I was embracing my long-lost grandmother or mother. A lot of the time, this was the first time we'd even written recipes down, everything. I'd learned to cook to my mom and my late father, mitomatic, with the eye. There's no writing anything down, which is a whole other journey. But that was probably the most beautiful thing about people saying it brought back the memories of their mums and grandmothers and the grief they had that they never got the chance to ask them, how do I make that dish, and to cook with them. And just talking about food before, about the importance of our table. There's some resources, and every day more than 100 people sit on these lawns. And one of the critical things every day is making sure that we cook beautiful food. The idea that just because you're poor shouldn't mean that your belly is not full with culture and spices and flavors and beautiful foods. And even in our food bank that feeds over 1,600 people each, we make sure it's a culturally safe place where the spices, the legumes, the pulses, the things they found back home they can find again. And I think that's the other important part of food, that is for all of us, no matter whether we can afford a 3-headed restaurant, or in the case of the community I work with, 2/3 are forbidden from working and none have access to Centrelink. So food, even the act of eating, is a luxury. And so it makes it even more precious. And the cookbook talks a lot about refugees and displacement and the importance of food as a way of using it as an act of both political resistance and an act of social justice.
Will you also give some of the takings from the cookbook back to your asylum?
Yeah, it was a real honour to donate, I think, $218,000 from sales from the cookbook. I donated 100% of my profits back to the Asylum Seeker Resource Centre. Thank you. And my publisher, Hardy Grant's giving $1 from every book as well. And Readings gave $2 from every book sold for the first few months. And Readings have been an amazing supporter of the ASRC and of refugees. So a big thank you to Readings as well.
I've just got to tell you this very funny story that happened when Kon's cookbook came out. We went to, and sometimes we do this in our head office where all the sort of marketing people are. We take a cookbook and we all cook something from it, and then we ask the author to come in and sort of, you know, in a fun, loving way, judge it. And so Kon brings his mum in, and we've all been cooking all night. I've made some complicated thing that's taken me 7 hours. I'm cursing Kon, but I've brought it in. I'm pedaling my bike, balancing this custard pie. And we've all tried really hard because we're such huge fans of Kon. So he and his mother sit down and they start tasting the food. And Kon, you can imagine, is being so kind to us. Oh, this is so terrific. Thank you so much. He's saying, his mum in Greek is going, I don't know what they've put in this. I don't know what's going in. Yeah. But she doesn't know that one of our office members speaks Greek. So she's saying this. And halfway through, I have to say to Kon, so this is Natasha. She speaks Greek fluently. Kon's like, Mum.
And I'm frantically trying to tell my mum that her face gives it away. So she'll be sitting there going, oh, very nice, in Greek. Before she goes, "Tisto diavolo na αυτό, το πρώτο φάutο." It's very nice. I'm like, Mum, your face, your tone. I go, please just praise them. Don't worry. We can eat later. The effort was lovely, but yes.
Oh, we still do. That's one of our favourite jars. Your mum. We love
She doesn't know how to censor herself. And she thinks it's an act of love being honest. I'm like, to your son, yes, an act of love and trauma. To other people.
So tell me what it was like writing a cookbook. What was it like actually producing something written with your mum? How did you do it?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I only had 6 months to write it while working full time. So I was up till 2 to 4 in the morning every night, just literally writing it after work. We'd never shot it before, and most cookbooks I didn't know. I shot in a studio, not by the authors, but by just outsourced chefs. And to the credit of my publisher, I said, I want people when they pick this book up to feel like they're coming to my mum's home. And so every photograph, every recipe was done by us, but it was like 92 dishes in 8 days. So I'd be up at 6 a.m. cooking till midnight, giving my mum a break between 6 and 9 and 5 and midnight, then writing edits on the book. The biggest challenge was the measurements. So I'd sit there with mum and she'd go, a little bit. And I go, is that a Greek coffee cup? Is that a mug? Is that a jug? She's like, how are these people stupid? Are these people idiots? And I'm like, Mum, a little bit of salt. You say a pinch of salt. Like, how much? Seriously, how dumb are these people? Can't they read? Can't they taste? Do they not have a tongue? And the painfulness of having to sit there, the thousands of edits. But it was but on the flip side of that, it was just so beautiful to sit there and hand make everything from scratch with my mum. And the recipes that I'd known to cook from scratch too, but to actually document them and know they will live for generations to come. And for my mum, when I talked to my publisher, she's like, well, you've written the actual book. And I go, but I want my mum's name on the book. And they go, but you've written it. I go, yeah, but those recipes are my mum's. There's no book without it. I go, I'm sick of authors, especially male chefs, who miraculously have learnt this culture without their mothers. And the biggest joy I have is at 76, my mum's a celebrity. And she'll be going, I went to Woolworths and someone just noticed me and wanted a photo with me. And going, I have to do my hair now before I go out in case I'm. And we got onto ABC Breakfast and she made galachto buriko to give to Michael Rowland. And just to have that moment on ABC TV with my mum, to be at writers' festivals with my mum, to have her at the Bendigo's Writers' Festival doing book signings, or we're going to Phillip Island one shortly, for my mum to be in a spotlight, my mother who from the age of 12, like my father from the age of 9, spent their lives being exploited, working in farms and factories. I was the first to even go to high school in my family. To have my mum being celebrated for a moment, to tell you the truth, that is the most precious part of this journey for me. Yeah.
Helly, your beautiful book tells a story about not just about the dishes that you make, but about the beautiful country and the diversity in India. You did a lot of research. What was the writing process like for you?
Writing process was very delicious, to be honest. There was I have traveled so much back home now that a lot of people from back home call me and hey, we're in Darjeeling. Where should we eat? And I'm like, okay, go there, order that, this, that. And I think part of it was also a lot of reading, which was not food-based, but then part of it was traveling a lot back home because every state is different and every little ingredient is different back home, and how it's used is quite varied, just like how Italy or Greece is, like demographics of it. That became very much translated into the book as well, but it is not very obvious. But at the end of the book, I give little regional menus, which kind of are like, we've covered almost all the regions, from the mountains, which are just unheard of. So India has this northeast mountains near Himalayas and the foothills, and the produce there, the wild mushrooms, the wild rice, the cheese, shipment cheese and other things, or tamarillos, I cannot pronounce them. A lot of things when I went back home traveling and I saw all those things, and I was like, I never thought that these things existed in India, because you're so away from those lesser known places. And all of that, some of it is in the book, some of it is not, because you cannot find that produce here. And then the book has all the things that can be made by now. So as much as I wanted to talk about the history and the authenticity of each recipe, I also wanted people to try it. So it starts with very, very simple things, and it kind of, just like how the food of India is, as it evolved in its evolution, the food also got more complicated and a lot of depth was in it. And then slowly it kind of becomes complicated, and the last chapter is more like a experimentative kind of, but still very authentic.
Not for the faint-hearted, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about writing it? Here you are, you're a mum, you're running a business, you're cooking. How do you find time? Were you also, like Kon, up in the wee hours of the night?
I am. So I don't sleep and I don't watch Netflix, so those two things. So I don't know. It has been an intense time for me in this life because I have 2 kids, school-going age. So there are a couple of hours I'm just dropping them and picking up. I'm doing radios and other things, like when I say, oh, please do it, outside of the school traffic hours, because that's the only time I'm available. And just cooking. And for me, what has been important is to cooking dinners at home, because that's what keeps you genuine. A lot of chefs don't cook their own food, which I feel slightly weird, because when you're not feeding your own family the good food, how are you actually caring about your food that you're serving to your guests? So for me, even though if I'm doing everything else outside of work, I try, and if it's simple, it's very simple, but I try and take 45 minutes out of my day to make 1.5 meal, this kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know where I actually went to that, but somehow answered your question, perhaps.
That's good. So Jess, I'm interested in your work in your book. Were you frightened writing it? I mean, Jess's book covers a lot of the way that she was brought up, but also she's doing a bit of an expose on the way that staff are treated in some of our biggest restaurants, the tricks and the slants that they're using. Were you concerned about what the reaction would be to that sort of book?
No, mainly because I'm like, if you don't know, you should know. And the people who already know were complaining about it. It was just more, that, and, because I have a media background, and at that stage I was, working as an editor for a magazine. I was very across defamation law. Right. So it's just like, come and get me. Look, I think it's just one of those things where you need to be more aware of where you're dining, who you're supporting, where your money is going. And what people don't realize is that food, at whatever level, whether it is creating something for the community, creating something for yourself, or treating it like entertainment, where you spend your money matters. And food at every level is so political. And yeah, we need to support the right people because we do not, one of the beautiful things about Melbourne, like specifically Melbourne and why we are one of the great food cities and have so many representations of different cuisines is because we have always been small business, independent, and we are slowly moving towards that kind of McDonald's-y, franchisee group idea where everything is flattened and for a particular audience and for people to pretend they're rich while looking cheap. And no one wants that. It's just like enjoy good food. And there's a difference between having great food with people who care and having a really mediocre experience. But hey, that photo was nice.
I agree with you. But now I want to talk about food now. Now we've sort of gone through the cookbooks and the writing process and why we've done it. I want to talk about what you think is the most extraordinary smell in the world. For me, apart from my mum's Maid of Honours, which is a particular biscuit that she makes for me when I've been very good, the other smell is garlic in butter. You know, that smell that instantly makes you hungry. What would it be for you, Kon?
Every time I was sick as a little boy, my mum would make avua lemon soup, which is just egg and lemon soup without the chicken. And it's just beautiful. Like it's a smell of love and of like a warm embrace and all those memories of being nurtured and loved. That would be my favourite smell from food.
For me, it's nice ghee, and then you add in your mustard seeds, a little bit of asafoetida, that's hing, and curry leaf. Those few ingredients, and you add in whatever to it. It's just that whenever that's kind of frying up and the seeds are popping, it's like makes me happy.
Does it remind you of home in that way? Is it just straight away, this is the smell that...
Yeah, my mother used to treat me like as a sous chef when I was younger. So she would ask me to like chop the vegetables, you know, wash the rice, wash the dal. And this is every morning before I used to go to school. And she would come in and do all the tadka. And this one was a very typical tadka, and she would do that, and she'd finish all the dishes. And that's a smell that just stayed with me.
Jess?
Oh, I have two extremes. So one is like this traditional Cantonese herbal soup where normal people would smell it and they're like, what the hell is that?
Take us through it. What is it?
It depends. It depends on the season. So I don't even know what the word is in English, but it's like dongwei, and it's like this bitter round thing that you throw into a soup. It's always like kind of pork-based. There are a bunch of other herbal ingredients that I don't know the name of in English. And then there are eggs that are thrown in as well. It's kind of bitter. It's a little bit sweet, but it's a natural sweetness. I've loved it since I was a child. And then I think my dad ruined it for me briefly when I was like 13. And it was like, oh, it's really good that you enjoy having this. It's great because you've started menstruating. And I'm like, great, I'm never having this again. I still love it. I'm like, you didn't ruin it for me. And then like on the complete other spectrum, French fries. This is from years of working in hospitality, front of house, and there is always a running joke of the person who's working front of house is always just like being nice to the chef on the line who's expediting and spiking dockets, and you're like, hey, throw an extra handful in there. Because everyone misses out on staff meal, or staff meal is disgusting. And then you will see all of front of house because we all care about each other. It's like you tap this person on the shoulder, you go around everyone's section. It's like, hey, if you want to run to the pass real quick like a seagull, you can just go peck at him.
In your book and in many interviews, Jess, you talk about the sort of afterlife of some of those hospitality people, about how after a restaurant you would go out to certain bars or you'd go to certain restaurants to share a meal, even if you were coming from different venues. This is where French fries comes, or...
Oh no, French fries happen in service. So like you kind of walk around with like this greasy, salty grin, hoping that no one can see the evidence on your face while you're trying to be incredibly professional and charming to people who are sitting there being like, so tell us about caviar.
And what about you, Kon? So there you are thinking about this sort of soup, this beautiful egg, this soup that you had as a child. Do you make that for yourself now? Is that something that's in your kitchen?
Yeah. I love to cook. I love to cook from earlier this year I did a fundraiser. We welcomed in lots of women and children from Gaza, and I cooked up lunch for 250 people, and I loved it. It was just, the room was just bustling with families and the joy of just creating this beautiful meal. So I love to cook, whether it's for my partner, whether it's for my friends or for my harder to cook just for myself. I love to do it as an act of love for others, but I love cooking, yeah.
So if it's like, I don't know, it's Tuesday night and you've been at the Asylum Seekers Resource Centre, you're supposed to be back home at 7, it's actually now 9:30, and I know that would be your life because something happened, there was some sort of emergency. You come through to your home, what are you eating at that point? What are you getting? Are you being like a normal person and having Vegemite on toast?
A dirty toasty?
Yeah, there's no shame in a dirty toasty. Just 3 types of cheese, in they go. Maybe some tomato.
Find some tomato, whack it in there. Go slap the butter on and just, when you bite in the gooey cheese. And that's also the thing. There is no such thing as low class and high class. And in a book I talk about there's no such thing as decadent food and good food. Like I am also, along with what Jess was talking about so eloquently about the bastardization and sanitizing of food, I also think we need to call out the rise of food in a way, not just in its inaccessibility, but in the way in which it's poisoning young people's sense of self-esteem and body image. There is only good food. Food made with love and intention. There's no bad or good. There is enjoying it in moderation, but there is only good food. So also taking the shame away from food, which I know I've struggled with, and I have a chapter on it in the book about struggling with my own body image and about food as a place of comfort, food as a place of escape when you're carrying so much stress, and then finding a way to reauthor that relationship of going, there is only good food, and me trying to love myself as best as I can and working through that and taking away this sort of scarcity and this starvation and this awful culture we're creating, especially for young women. And now we're seeing this with young men as well, around food as a place of shame and a place to deny yourself when food is a place of love and affirmation. Yeah.
That's something that you're doing with your family meals. That's one of the reasons that it's so important to you is to make sure, is that right?
That's right. And I think nourishment is very important in any part of cuisine. I think there is a trend towards a lot of restaurants where every single dish looks similar. Everywhere you go, there's some cheese, bread, some vinegar, and, there's a stock standard. And I say that very often, that everyone just wants to eat cheese and bread and tomato for some reason. But I think that's what the restaurants coming in, where they should take more responsibility about offering nourishing dishes and everything. I mean, French fries, I love French fries, and we always fry things as well. But kind of balancing the decadent and the fresh foods as well. And creating that relationship is very important, and I agree to that. So a good quality cheese is always great, and a bad quality something, even if it's little, it's not going to help you. And that happens in the restaurants as well. I'm very picky where I'm taking my kids to. If I know the chef, I'm taking them there because I know he or she has put in the right things and right effort. But that doesn't happen often. A lot of places are, doing a lot of things that shouldn't be doing, to just put things at a cheaper, homogeneous way that is going to make cuts and profits for bigger groups, as you said. And that's something that you have to be aware of, mindful of. And you might be paying, say, $30 more at the end of the day, but you're eating something nice, and you're happy at the end of the day, better than, So that's what I stick by when I'm going out to eat myself or making something myself.
Jess, if you are coming back, you have done a tour of some foodie places around Melbourne, you've written a review of a restaurant, and you finally got back to your place. It's Tuesday night, it's 9:00. What are you cooking? What are you doing really quickly?
This is going to sound insane.
Yeah.
But my default is I always make some kind of Korean soup or stew because it's quite easy to throw together if you've got... I have a very Asian pantry. I have so many ingredients that, it's a regular person would go shopping in my pantry. But it's kind of like, I've got this paste, I've got this ferment, I've got this. I don't understand people who go shopping and they're like, I'm going to buy 1 onion. I'm like, what are you doing with 1 onion? Like, I've always got this overflowing basket of onions and I still use every single one of them. Same with garlic. I spend $10 a week at the market on garlic and and I use every single clove. People just look at me like, are you insane? The garlic woman always puts extra ones in there. She's like, rain, hail or shine, you're here. You're here more often than I'm here. Yeah. And so it's a Korean soup or stew, for the weather at the moment. it has been doenjang jjigae. Doenjang is the Korean, I guess it's like fermented soybean paste, similar to miso, but not. And then generally there's, potatoes, zucchini because it's summer, onions, spring onions, like the Korean green peppers. And it's always, there's a protein in there, whether it's seafood or pork or beef. And yeah, it's finished with firm tofu, gochugaru, crushed seaweed, rice. I'm always cooking rice.
Just so that everyone knows that we've got time for some questions from the audience, that we get given 10 minutes. I've got one more question just while, just to make you sort of have the time to start thinking about it. So what I want to know is what cookbook is at the moment on your kitchen table. I always have a pile of cookbooks. What about for you?
So at the moment, I'm going back to one of my heroes is Hannah, who ran the Moroccan soup bar, and I've been delving back into her original. Yep. And it's gorgeous, as well as the autobiography that she's out now. And if you've never tried her food, go and check it out.
Yeah. What she...
And that's the power. It's the Moroccan.
The Moroccan soup.
And then the sick, the sour, so biography, incredible Australia-Belize woman. She was this amazing social enterprise. She was refugee women, and it was beautiful North African food, and couldn't encourage enough to try it. Yeah.
What she does with chickpeas is extraordinary. Is it honestly, it's delicious, that chickpea bake. What cookbooks on your kitchen table?
So I have a lot of Indian cookbooks, and they are all stacked up. I never have one book that I'm reading, unfortunately. There are several things sitting on the bench, and I'm flipping one recipe and then going on the other one, fact-checking if that's actually right or not. And then and then going online and checking, is that right or not? So several books, but mostly Indian cookbooks. There's Kolkata cookbook, which is very nice. There's a Goan cookbook on Surai cooking. Then there is a Kashmiri Vazwa cookbook, which takes you through Vazwa cooking in Kashmir, if I may. In Kashmir, there is a very different way of cooking that came from Samarkand, which is in Central Asia. And the way they use spices is very different than as compared to the rest of India. The rest of India would put spices in the oil so that they infuse it. But these guys make a big pot of stock. All the offcuts of a goat, they put it in a big pot, wood fire almost every time, and they throw in lots of spices, wasteful but delicious. And they use that flavorful stock in every other dish. And every other dish is actually just different parts of goat. So if there is a wedding, they would get 3-5 goats, and they would use the whole animal. And each part has a different dish, and that stock goes in. So it was so fascinating to see that entire book was just so advanced in so many levels. But it's just like sitting dustily somewhere in India in some corner. No one paying much attention. But you have to get those key points for yourself. They're not going to say it, but you can observe it at the end of it, that's what they're doing. But yeah, that's what I'm reading.
Jess?
This is going to be a very painful answer. Mainly because when I cook at home, it's like Cantonese comfort food, and that's all innate. You just season until your ancestors tell you to stop. But I also, if anyone here follows me on Instagram, they know that I am insanely obsessed with bread and baked goods. And because I've just bought a new oven, I have been obsessively making viennoiserie at home. So I've been spending a lot of money on butter. Yeah, so at the moment, I am going through all these different croissant recipes. And
Are you doing the Loon one? Are you doing Kate Reid's?
No.
Okay. Because you need 3 or 4 days for that.
No, they're all 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
But the one I'm currently inching around, because I think it's the best recipe that I've come across at the moment, is Marissa Weller's A Good Bake. And it is a combination of using sourdough and creating like a pre-ferment. So yeah, it really influences the texture and how the dough works. And she's amazing because she used to be a chemical engineer or something. Insane. I love it.
She's in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Questions. It's about how do we inspire children to be in the kitchen eating good food? Come on.
In my mum's garden, I've created a massive garden. So she has her own fresh fruit and vegetable Vic market. And with my nephew and niece, I've spent a lot of time with them growing, planting food, picking food. the joy and curiosity when children learn where food actually comes from, the joy of them harvesting it, I found that to be a beautiful way of connecting people back to
The Stephanie Alexander way. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. And my kids are always involved when I'm cooking. So my daughter is, little fingers are perfect for peeling garlic. So she's very, tiny, and it's frustrating for me, but she does it so well. So she does that. My son will be picking parsley. I do make pasta at home as well, by the way. So he'd be picking something or other. And I deliberately want them to cook. So I have taught my son how to cook a few recipes, because he shouldn't be thinking that he's cooking for someone else. You have to cook for your own self as well. It's not always, if you're in university, how are you going to eat? And he's like, oh, yeah. So, and taking them to the markets, letting them pick things. We don't have, unfortunately, a really good big garden, but involving them is very important. Like, I was watching a butchery video the other day, and my daughter was sitting with me, and she was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I really like that, how they've got that Maryland. I'm like, yeah, you want to see how I do it at the restaurant next week? And actually, she watched through the whole process. She wasn't grossed out or anything. And it was this full duck with beaks and everything. And she was happy to see it. So, yeah, I think they're curious, but I have to just feed them.
I know that you have influenced many teenagers in different ways. How do you keep going?
Look, I do not have children, but I have nieces and a nephew, and part of it is getting them to grow things themselves, because a lot of them are like, oh, I don't eat this color anymore for no reason other than yuck. And then you get them to grow it. And they're like, oh, it's my favorite thing in the world now. You're like, excellent. But also being the crazy relative helps, because I just kind of like bust into their lives and I'll cook something and they're like, what's going on here? What is this? I know it's not a color that I normally eat, but you're cool. And then you're like, see, you too could be cool. And then my sister's like, I hate you forever now. I have to cook this.
Just what I've just got you sort of talking about, and we're talking about kids, what about the sort of the influence that the TV shows have had on the way that young people are eating and how they're expecting food to look in a way? These sort of master chefs, or just our whole obsession with cooking shows.
Oh, God. We need another hour.
Not many people know this, but Jess actually has been on TV being a judge on one of those shows. You can read about it.
Look, I think obviously cooking shows, wow, they're so real. So dramatic. Every day is that dramatic. The food is always that worked. People don't realize that food tastes awful. It is cold. It generally tastes like fingerprints. Ugh.
Because from the moment that the food is prepared to when you're judging, there's some time.
There's a lot of time, but what people also don't realize is on those shows, it's like you're eating out of season produce, because they're not like filming it for the time, they're filming it for when it screens. So you're like, everything tastes kind of papery and watery and oily and like a fingerprint. But it looks great. And oh, look at the journey to make it, guys. And, you're just sitting there going, I hate my life. But the funny thing is, so my sister calls my youngest niece her karma, because she is a carbon copy of me, in that she's very self-sufficient and she watches TV. And one day she watched episode of something during lockdown where someone made an apple pie from scratch. She was like 5 and she just went in the kitchen and replicated it. And my sister had no idea, because she was too busy trying to keep the other 2 kids from killing each other because they're that close together in age, that she didn't realize that the youngest had made a pie until she was screaming her head off for my sister to get it out of the oven, because that was the only process she couldn't do herself.
So in that way, TV...
It just depends what you're watching.
Yeah. Kon, do you watch TV shows? Do you watch cooking shows?
Not much anymore, because I think they're killing the joy of cooking. And I think to what Jess was talking about, most of my favourite Greek dishes on a plate, they're not pretty, but they're not meant to be. The best food is not pretty. It's actually meant to feel like comfort and like home, and it's full of lots. It's like in Greek we have ladara cooking, which is cooking with lots of olive oil. And you'll see typically Anglo-Australians going, that's gross, look at all that olive oil. It's like, try my Greek lemon potatoes. And then they're like literally drinking it afterwards. So it's not meant to look like that. I think it's creating an unrealistic expectation of what And yes, we eat with our eyes, but we eat with some other senses. But the point is it cooked with love and not that it's made into this unattainable thing with 48 different ingredients. And I'm a bit over it. I'm actually a bit over it. I used to be obsessed with it, and now I can barely watch any of it.
Oh, justice for brown food.
Sorry, but I actually have been on a couple of shows. I have a 10-part series on SBS as well called India Unplated, in case.
I don't watch.
But I agree. So every time I put a dish out to the producers and be like, this is what I want to cook, and they'd be like, oh, that is too complicated. Can you not just put something easy that people can replicate at home, that just they don't have to go to grocery to buy something? And I'm like, well, if you're cooking Indian food and if you're going to Billy's, say, to buy some ingredients, you're just not going to make proper Indian food if it's an Indian cooking show. So there is a struggle behind the scene that always happens, and there's always that making things, kind of washing it to a level that it's not authentic anymore, and that does take away a lot of soul and long recipes, overnight recipes. No one wants to do it. Everyone wants quick, easy, quick recipes, But yeah, and I agree to that. And the glitters and the chemicals that go into making those plated dishes, it just stresses me out, because I look at that and I'm thinking like, that's so much hours and work went into that for what? It's not even going to taste nice. So anyway, but watch those shows.
Watch it.
But I watched my series of that. I've made some good things on it.
We've run out of time. We could actually be at this particular dinner party for hours, really, but we have run out of time. Can you please thank these people?
Clunes Booktown Festival is presented by Creative Clunes. Tax-deductible donations to keep our stories alive can be made at creativeclunes.org.au. This podcast has been made possible due to the generous support of the Hugh Williamson Foundation.